Hey, Jake, thanks for being on here with us.
Hey, brother.
Guys, I really appreciate being with you. I've been looking forward to this all week. Ever since Trevor and I talked about it, it's always great to connect with a former teammate, and glad to be here with you guys.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's cool
Jake and
stuff.
I played baseball together throughout high school, collegiate ball, and we've known each other for a very, very long time. Little background: Jake Mangas is here with us, everybody. So, super, super thankful. Been looking forward to this episode too, because I think we've got some really cool stuff to share that we're going to lean on you for. And But Jake is the CEO of the Redding, California Chamber of Commerce in my hometown, and our hometown, as a matter of fact. And Jake is, well, since he took the position in 2016,
That's right. Yep, January of 2016.
uh, he's probably the best person I could ever think of to take this position, just because you have such a heart for the community. You're very community minded and driven. Family man, amazing man, and has been doing some amazing things at the chamber. I have a particular affinity for business in this area as well, because I grew up in a small business atmosphere. I know how much Jake cares, and I also believe in the strength of a community. Sometimes can be defined by a few different things, but the business and commerce can be a really interesting barometer for the strength of a community and being business focused and business first. And Jake not only is the CEO of the Chamber of Commerce, but he's also runs the Chamber Scholarship Foundation as well. So there's a nonprofit side, and they do some really, really awesome work with students. So that's a long intro and a long ramble about you coming on, brother. But we're really thankful to have you, man. So thank you so much.
Yeah, you're welcome. Glad to be here with you.
Well, hey, Jake, I want to jump and ask you. So, when you showed up in 2016, things weren't all just rosy. It wasn't like you just inherited something that was like all set up and going. You kind of had your work cut out for you.
Yeah, I think that was part of the attraction for me in taking on this role was that it wasn't a well-oiled machine. It needed help, and I had been working in television ad sales for 7 years, and then I came on board with the local Catholic Charities Agency for a decade, raising funds for them. And then you get to that point in your career where I felt a plateau. And for me, that's the unsettling piece. It's not how much money are you making and all that stuff. And at my core, it's am I able to use my talents to the best of the community? And, and am I challenging myself? Am I growing professionally? So I just started to have this mind shift that maybe working for Catholic Charities for the rest of my life wasn't the plan for me. So I was just open to it. And three opportunities came my way nearly instantaneously. Two of them were financially driven primarily. And then the third was the Reading Chamber of Commerce. And that's when I had that moment where I'm like, this is exactly what I need to be doing. So, 35 years old on day one, January of 2016, and then reality hits me right in the face. And it was the balance sheet, which of course shows you how much cash you've got in the bank right at the top. What's our liquidity looking like here as an
And it
organization?
wasn't favorable, you told me.
No, I would say it was probably the definition of insolvent because we had less money in the bank than we owed at the time. And I admittedly had probably a 24-hour, moment of freaking out and thinking, did I just make a big mistake for myself and for my family? And then I had that look yourself in the mirror moment where I thought, no, this is exactly what I was looking for. And let's turn this into actually the greatest gift you could ever have had given to you because it was this realization that this is exactly what our members are dealing with on a daily basis. They're trying to figure out how do we make ends meet? How do we keep the lights on? How do we make payroll? And as a chamber of commerce supporting the business community, if we don't do what they need us to do to help them, then I think we become one of the first things that get cut from the budget. Becomes more discretionary instead of necessary. And I want people to see us as a necessary part of their business. So right away it was What can I do to make it through this first month back in January of 2016? And you've heard people say it's all about relationships, and it truly is, and especially in a town the size of Reading, which we have about 100,000 people here, but in a lot of ways it feels like a small town. So I made like two phone calls to a couple of people that I knew uh, either ran businesses or had access to marketing funding. And they both said, we're going to help you out. We're going to invest in the chamber. We made payroll that first 2 weeks and we've never looked back. So it's been so much fun to be involved in everything that happens in our community, it seems like, and to truly feel like you're making a difference. That's what I've always gone back to. It's sort of that Simon Sinek thing of knowing your why. And to me, it's income follows impact. So if we can make an impact in our local community and that businesses see us as valued, then valuable, we're going to see the income follow when we have.
I think that's something that you brought out. There's several things in there that I just want to come back to. So, one, I want you said the why. What is my why? Why am I here? What am I doing? And I think for people in the nonprofit world, professionals, whether you're for profit, nonprofit, whatever, is understanding what your why is. If you're just there for a paycheck, well, if the paycheck's not there, that it's not stable, it's not there, you're going to jet and you're going to go. It's when you're in something that you really believe in, and I don't care what business it is, I don't care what nonprofit it is, there's going to come a point in time where it's going to get hard. It's going to be really hard, and if you don't have that, you're not sold out to the cause, so to speak. How are you going to get through that time? Well, you're not. You're going to drop it and step off to the next thing, and you see that happen in businesses, especially in nonprofits. They go, "Oh, I'm out of here," and they go to something else. So talk about that a little bit more. Finding your why. You said, "Well, I had three things. I had three things that I could go do." You're obviously in the fundraising world. Catholic Charities been around a long time, stable. They raise a lot of money for a lot of great causes, do a lot of great things. So talk about that, though, that shift and change to dig into that why. And how did you use really dig into, say, okay, this is it, because you talked about 24 hours of panic.
That's truth. So I think there was this one moment where I was in that discernment mode back before I knew that the chamber was an option for me. And we were at a stoplight in downtown Reading, and I saw this. That's the California building code turning off the lights on me because they couldn't see that I was moving. So sorry about that. But anyway,
That's all right.
so I was at this stoplight in downtown Reading, and this person who was out on the streets, they were presumably homeless, maybe mentally ill, maybe addicted to drugs, maybe a combination of those things, was crossing the street in front of our vehicle. And I turned to my wife, Janet, and I said, you know, it's really too bad that I can't focus in on my hometown, because where I currently work, I get spread across 6 counties here in this huge geographic location, and I always feel like I'm trying to stick my finger in that leak in the dam, in this community or that community, and it's a losing battle sometimes. So I just had that thought, whether it's self-inflicted pain or not. I think that human suffering before us is our responsibility in some way to do something about it, because it affects all of us. And I just didn't know what exactly that meant at that moment. And then when the chamber opportunity came around, and not only was it this chance to work in Reading, but also it was a chance to realize and dive into the critical importance of the success of the business community to help alleviate those things in our community. We're offering people opportunity to help themselves, and then we're also creating resources and revenue streams for the public sector, for nonprofits, and for all of us to try to tackle those societal challenges. So it really was an answer to discernment and to prayer to be able to have this opportunity that I don't take lightly. There's only one chamber president in our community. So And I followed a man who had been in the role for like 24 years. I remember going back in time and thinking, the person that was in this role before me was brought in when I was in third grade. So it was like a long run. So on we've gone in trying to figure out how do we best support Reading and work with our city and our county and the local nonprofits and creating an environment that will be conducive to opportunity for the private sector. So growth in the community to happen, our downtown to be revitalized, and then also kind of into that core again, the image and reputation of our city, not only for people from the outside looking at Reading, but how do we within our own community think about ourselves and talk about ourselves and experience our community? Do we go to the things that need work all the time? Or do we actually remember to take a look at Mount Shasta rising in the distance, or the beautiful Sacramento River teeming with trophy-sized rainbow trout right in the middle of our community? Go for a jog in the morning and experience the river trail. Watch the sunrise. Know you've got smog-free air and no commute time because it's easy to get where you need
It's a
to go.
secret. Don't tell
I
people.
know.
All right.
I
Don't
want
tell
to
people.
I want to just stop you for a second. So I was out in Reading just about 3 weeks ago, and I took a run on the bridge. We went through the bridge on the trails. We went and ate downtown. You know, we got to see this. This is a really cool, great, really nice, 100,000 size of about 100,000 community. It is a beautiful town, beautiful scenery, and just a really great feeling and vibe. And I think people do feel good about what they're doing. So
You've been a part of that,
congratulations.
brother, big time.
Yeah,
man.
big time.
Big time.
I want to hit something about how if I can invest in this community, if we can make this beneficial to the businesses. You said not for us, but for what the community is going to do, about how if we can lift up businesses and help them and give them value, the money's going to take care of itself. Then you said, but if we do that, they're going to be able to help the nonprofits. That's going to help our society, going to help our community. And I think that's part of that why. That's part of that thing that a lot of times people, and we're talking to nonprofit leaders mostly, and that they understand that they're not just improving this specific mission, this specific segment of society that they're working with. It rises all boats. And I think that's really important to keep in mind when you're trying to figure out your why about what you're doing, because sometimes it's hard. Sometimes, it is. And so I think that's I appreciate you sharing that. And so my next thing, I'm going to ask you, this is maybe a little bit different. So when you get there, you have the realization, oh crap, we don't have any money. I got to figure that out. So you identified the stakeholders, the people that had capacity, and you went, so what was that conversation with them? Specifically, like, what was that when you picked up the phone and made those calls? What was that conversation?
Jake, you hold on to that just for a second, because I just want to reiterate to everyone, Jake did exactly what we implore people to do every single day. We keep telling people it's not what you know, it's who you know and how well you know them. And when Jake was faced with this, disadvantageous spot that he was in when he took over the Scholarship Foundation and the chamber, he picked up the phone. You know what I mean? He picked up the phone. He picked up the most powerful tool in fundraising, as we keep telling everyone. And he picked up the phone and he went to work. Yeah, so, do a deep dive on that or reverse engineer what you did for us, Jake, for the audience.
I appreciate the question, Jason. I was overwhelmed by the welcome committee to this role. There was a special gathering at a local restaurant, and people had signed this banner that basically said, "Congratulations, Jake," and all this stuff. And I like to deflect a lot of the credit to other people, so it was hard to accept that. But I also know that receiving the gift is also a blessing to the person that's giving the gift. So I felt this responsibility, certainly, but also really empowered and encouraged by a lot of people that said, we need this change, we need this fresh perspective. We're so excited about this new chapter. And so then when I looked at where the rubber meets the road and being able to fund the mission of the organization, it's going back to those people in that core group of folks that are close to me, are closest to me, and saying, here's the reality of the situation, and here are some of the things that I'm really excited about doing, but we know it's no margin, no mission, right? So you got to go for it. And that's exactly what I did. Then it was all about building a team that, number one, reflected what I'm all about in having a service mindset and knowing that I always saw it as a mirror. And it was like before the chamber was looking at itself and saying, wow, look at what we're doing and look at us as an institution. And instead, sort of like, a church is comprised of the people that are in the pews, not the four walls. Turning that mirror around and saying, this chamber's about you guys, and we want to amplify your message because the storytelling component is what's so powerful about the chamber. It's about that little mom and pop shop that had that dream, and they hung the shingle, they made a go of it, they were able to employ some people and provide a service or a product and grow to another location. They were able to sponsor the Little League team, all of these different things that make the world go around. And to know that they're relying on us for resources, for solutions to their challenges, working with the building department and trying to figure out how do we expand, trying to deal with human resources changes in our state, and how do we work within those. And then we were faced with a few different things, and